that whole stretch. And then me and 3 or 4 other, I should be ready. 3 or 4 people.
Ready?
Myself.
All right, 7 o'clock. Let's call her to order and say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. And we got everybody here tonight, which is a rarity lately, right, Dave?
Yep. I know.
So-
It's generally pointed at me, I guess.
All right, so the next thing I got in here is approve the regular agenda. Did we, Brent, you had a couple of mods you wanted to make on here?
Yeah, a couple items is remove the June 26th special meeting minutes notes. They weren't
Okay.
ready for this agenda. The agenda item 9, address approval process. That would be next meeting, so July 16th, we'll bring it to the council.
Okay.
We'll refine it a little bit more before presenting it to you. Make sure it's more clearly understood.
Okay.
And then also the 2019 budget, we'll remove that one and we'll get into it pretty heavily then on July 16th.
Okay. All right. Anybody else got anything they want to on here? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to accept with the revisions.
So moved.
Okay, John.
Second.
Brian does a second. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Consent agenda. Did everybody have a chance to look through that and see what bills got paid? Matea, anything on there we need to be aware of? Otherwise, everything kind of looks to me like it's pretty boilerplate.
Right. No.
What was the refund for Lost River Fifth?
We're gonna pass that. The 5th edition. Did he not need it?
Let me pull it up here. Is that the
2745, item number 26 or
29.
20,
Oh, 26, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yep.
I see 2 numbers over
Mhm.
there.
That's likely due, I'm assuming that's due to their application for the 5th edition, which they withdrew. And then they'll come back with a new revised, application for consideration for the 5th
okay.
edition Lost River. It was in order to make it as clean as possible because they may come back with changes that affect the number of lots and everything. And we didn't want to try to make adjustments and calculations there, so.
Right.
Okay.
They should be coming back here within, talking to the developer probably within the next month or so.
Okay.
Question on the Black Mountain. So, didn't we already pay a portion of this? And Matea, is this for the next calendar year?
I would have to ask Vance on that, because I don't.
This might be the balance. This might.
Well, would you have paid your implementation fees first?
Well, we paid.
Some of it?
We paid portion of it, and this seems higher. This seems higher than what I would have expected. So that's why I was asking the question, because it seemed like it's about $5,000 higher than what I would have expected. So if you can ask,
Yep.
because I
Do you want to take it off of this one? Keep it
no,
for a
I
couple
think it's
weeks?
already paid, right? I think it's probably already
No,
paid.
we haven't mailed the check.
haven't mailed a check?
No, we wait till you.
Let's check on this. Let's hold on
Okay.
this one and check it, just because unless it's due like now, let's hold on it. Let's hold on it, because if we can approve it the next meeting, then can we do that?
Sure, but can everything else be approved?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I just want to check on the amount, because
Okay.
it seemed like it's too high. So I'm
Okay.
going to check it.
Okay. All right, so we'll take that one off of the list for payment tonight, and we'll just hang on to that one. Okay,
Everything else looks good, so make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
with the correction.
With
or
correction.
that. Okay.
Second.
Brian does that.
Second.
You did. Okay, John does a second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, you guys read the minutes? Caught up on that? think I saw anything on there that was out of place,
I
so.
wasn't here, so.
You gonna stay out of it?
Yeah.
Gotcha. You mean to tell me you were not sitting there watching this on Facebook?
That would have been the middle of the night, sorry.
Wow, sacrifices have to be made. All right. Anybody see anything on there? I mean, to me, it looked like we pretty much covered everything.
Covered everything, yeah.
Okay,
Motion to approve the minutes,
from the June 18th.
June 18th.
Okay.
I'll second.
Brian makes a motion. You get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, John does a second. So, all in favor of accepting the minutes for June 18th, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Brent, you added this public comment period onto the agenda, so what would you like, how would you like to see that implemented or happen tonight?
Basically, if anybody has any public comments, or comments, related to any items that are not on the agenda, I believe it's typically during this public comment period, cause then otherwise they could speak during the agenda item.
Okay.
Typically, you would see it limited to, a couple minutes, but
Is there an expectation that if somebody does bring up some public comment that potentially action happens today, or can
Tip-
that be deferred, or what's?
typically during public comment, it gives the public opportunity to express a concern, but typically the council is there to listen, typically not get into a debate or discussion of it at that time. It's just to be able verbally, you have a concern.
Okay. Which is fine. It just wanted some clarification because stuff,
And-
we're changing the agenda, how we're doing things now. so I
And
just
this
wanna-
is part of our experiments to see,
Yep.
The different agenda items to see how we could streamline it, make it more transparent, things like that.
Okay.
Okay, so so we just haven't published this per se, to let people know that this is an open period, so to speak.
It's just a standard item on the
Okay.
agenda
Okay.
where they can talk.
Okay.
Quite often, you don't see a whole lot of participation during them, but
Sure.
it's, like I said, then you're covered, so if anybody does have an item,
Okay.
and there's.
So with that, does anybody out want to have a couple of minutes? Go ahead.
You gotta go
Yeah.
to the podium, Steve.
Yeah. That's the pen. That's the penance.
I got enough voice.
Then you're not on camera as much.
My concern is I've asked several people in the council informally and stuff like that, and I'm addressing specifically what I want to call the boulevard on the county road, or the road that's to my west. That's gravel.
Which road, say again?
The continuation of 76th,
No,
Oh,
75th.
75th, sorry, 75th, the continuation.
Oh, so Maple Grove area.
Maple Grove area, okay, on that area. And the question is I've been reading ordinances, yes, I have been reading ordinances, that I would consider to be classified a boulevard, because if, I've tried to find out who owns the road, and we think it's the city, and any road adjacent to the property is considered a boulevard. So if it's a boulevard, I need to have permission before I do any planting of trees, grass, whatever. Right now, I'm doing all the maintenance from the corner to the slough property line and a little bit into Bob's area. And then I'm doing a lot of mowing with 3 or 4 of my other neighbors across the road on the farmer's field, because he does not seem to want, I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, but it doesn't get mowed. And we're getting a lot of thistles and whatever coming in from there. But the other concern is that tree row. By ordinance or code, I'm not allowed to plant trees in there. I've lost 6 more trees in that tree row this last season due to ants and or just old dying out poplars. So my question to you all is, what process do we want to have to go through with this? Because I've been slowly doing a lot of the clean out maintenance, but I'm also starting to do my own spraying in there just to try to keep the thistles down. So,
We should go look at the plat, because I'm wondering if those trees in that tree line are in each property line, in each,
well, I looked at that, and my property line,
like right down the middle of that tree.
no, it's actually, my property line is to the east of all that whole tree row. And
So that's in the ditch /
it's in the
boulevard that
ditch
you're
boulevard area. And if I go to the center of the paved area, not the dirt road, the center of the paved area, I'm within 2 feet of my driveway,
with the 75 feet of utility easement and the 10 feet of buffer, whatever you want to call it, of utility easement that's on my property too.
Okay.
Yeah, we're getting a lot, they're old poplars in the water.
Yeah,
starting
yeah.
to blow down in spots or dying.
There's actually a few more spots around town that have that same issue, so.
And I know we've talked about this casually before, but before I start spending money on some good aspens or some other, trees that can take water and whatever, because conifers don't like wet feet. So anyway, I'm bringing this up before all of a sudden, because we've already had some snarky conversations with other people throughout there as to who maintains it, who doesn't. But several of us are just taking on our own to mow just to keep mosquitoes down and nuisance stuff.
Well,
And that's almost a little over half an acre of land that I'm taking care of. That's really not mine. Forget when we start mowing the street or the road across the street.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to look into that. Put an action item on that one. Okay. Anybody else want to bring up anything?
That was ordinance 3-0205, I think, or something like that.
You really did study that, didn't you?
I could give you a whole whereas if you want one.
No, we'll look into that. It's just to see what's going on there, so. Okay, anybody else, if nobody else got anything, we'll move on to the police report. Who's got the duties? All right.
All right. So for the month of June, we had 84 calls for service, which was up a little bit from the prior month. I think part of that's just the nice weather out and stuff. Had 2 crashes, 2 reckless drivings, 2 juvenile complaints, 1 animal call, 2 alcohol-related incidents. Those are 2 DUIs. One was called in Main Street, 6th Avenue area north. And then the other one was a vehicle that was parked out on 76, a mile west of County 17 there. Just parked on the side of the gravel road. So, and then we had 5 medicals, 10 citations, 24 warnings, no parking tickets, and 3 drug-related incidents. Part of those calls for service were 6 related to traffic complaints and 19 for deputies attempting warrants. We've had quite a few complaints. We've been doing some extra patrol in the area of that construction down in County 17 and County 16 there. A lot of people are complaining that people are driving faster than the posted 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. So if you see us down there, that's why. We've been down there quite a bit the last part of June there, stopping a few cars here and there and stuff. But some people have complained about getting nicks in their windows and stuff because of the rocks. People are driving fast. So. Then we've also had some calls. I don't know if it's just that time of year or whatever, but people selling items door to door again. There was, I think, 2 different individuals, and both of them, we checked on them, and they both have the transient merchant license. Basically, that's just if they have that, there's nothing we can do that says that they can't walk door to door and try to sell stuff. Just kind of a reminder to the public that you don't have to talk to them. If you want them to leave, you can just tell them to leave, and if they don't, then you can call us. So.
Okay, I got a dumb question.
Sure.
Where do you get a transient merchant license at?
I don't know. That's above
Is that
me.
a county? There must be a county.
It's got to be a county thing, I would assume, because it's the same license whether you're Fargo or we were getting calls today of people up in Hunter selling stuff door to door. So I don't know. It's got to be, I would think, a county thing, or maybe, I don't know.
Well, I know in
Let's see if I can
Minnesota,
get you an app.
in
No,
Minnesota,
I'm saying
cities
who's
have
collecting
them.
the fees on that?
Yeah. I don't know.
In Minnesota, the cities have where you apply in the city to have that type of license. In North Dakota, I'm not sure if the cities have them or if it is county based. I could look into it. But yeah, they just turned one down in Barnesville because of past practices that they did a background check on them and denied it because of their background check.
Okay.
I'll expand on in Kansas. We've seen it was pretty common for cities to have their own license also. They implemented a business license, and they require anybody doing business within the city to have that type of license. One for door to door, and then also for established businesses too, or contractors doing business. And it was a way to deter contractors to fly, the come and go.
Right.
So
Fly-by-night
doing,
guys.
yeah, fly-by-night ones, doing roofs and stuff like that, because there'd be a lot of hailstorms down there. So
Maybe not a bad idea.
Looks like here, just a quick search, Jamestown has something in there, states that there is a North Dakota State Transient Merchants license or certificate of registration, which is done by the Attorney General or State of Secretary of State, but looks like some cities maybe have some additional things they go through, so must be a state level first, and then if we would have something, we would supersede that.
And then also just kind of for the public too, a situational awareness kind of thing is that it's maybe good to ask to see that too if you are interested in purchasing or talking to them or something like that, because there has been the case, it hasn't been here with any of the people we've dealt with, but there's been cases where people, that's what they're doing is they'll ring a doorbell, and if somebody answers, they're selling a cleaner or something. If nobody answers, maybe they're going to rob that place or something, or burglarize that place. So it could be that they're casing places as well. And it always doesn't hurt to call us. We can stop and check on them and make sure that everything's good to go too. So just something to think about.
Okay.
And then we started the preparations for the Night to Unite stuff. That's going to be over at the Horace Lutheran Church again. That's going to be August 14th. And we're going to do the same time frame from 4 to 8 p.m. is what we're planning for. This year we're going to include the ice cream social that I think was with the Bean Days last year. So we'll do that this year, as well as we're going to put on a bike safety course for the kids down there. My understanding, there's somebody that's coming in that is going to be able to supply free bike helmets to kids that show up for it and stuff, and then we'll put together a course just for them to ride, kind of a safety education type course.
Can I suggest a slight change of that?
Yes, absolutely.
We're planning the Streets Alive event for July, which is essentially a bike walking event.
Oh, yeah.
Could I suggest taking that and combining it with the Streets Alive?
Yeah.
We can talk about it afterwards, but
Sure. Yeah.
because there was actually a couple bicycle-oriented officers, right, that were
Yep.
thinking of coming down and
That's right, yeah.
participating that night to night. We can talk about it.
Yeah.
Does it make sense to do both or one, or how do we do it?
Yeah. Yeah, that would probably fit pretty good with the Streets Alive thing there. So
That's what it's for. It's intended to be a bike event,
Yeah.
bike-oriented event on Streets Alive. So
yeah, and I think
we'll
it's
talk
probably
about that
just
later.
probably just come down to scheduling for the guy that's going to be
Right.
bringing in the helmets and stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
as long as he can show up for that
So
too.
let's talk about it this week and get that scheduled.
Perfect. That sounds good. And then the one other thing we were just talking about, can we get like a reminder on how you guys, the ordinance for fireworks, because this week I'm sure we're going to be getting a ton of calls for fireworks on how you guys want things handled, when things are shut down, things like that.
So far, there have not been any complaints. I mean, there have been a number of people lighting off fireworks in the last few nights, and obviously the crescendo is increasing. So no complaints so far.
I haven't had any. Do you have any calls?
Because that was an issue last year. And we had a number of complaints from residents, and we had to reissue the, hey, don't be firing off fireworks after 10, 11 o'clock, I think. 11 o'clock at night. So, were we citing people after that? Because I thought we put an ordinance into effect after that saying that until, what is it, the first? Or no, it was the third.
Something was the third of
It was something the third that it had to stop at 11 before the third, and then on the third and fourth.
The ordinance has time ranges
Yep.
starting on the 27th through the 5th.
So I would let's go refresh on the ordinance, because I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
we
because we went
fixed
through
that
this
last year.
Yeah, we went
Yeah.
through this last year too.
I think
so.
we should just post something on Facebook
Yep.
and
Yep.
on the announcement on our announcements that just states
Again, here's the
timelines.
ordinance.
Here's the ordinance, right?
Yep.
You're basically going to give them a warning, and if they're called back again, then it's a citation, wasn't it?
Yep,
Wasn't that
yep.
basically what we stated?
Yep.
Matea, you want to see if you can find that again? I'm pretty sure we had that out there last year too, and it's just
So yes, I
reposted.
suppose tonight and tomorrow night, there'll be, if there haven't been any complaints, then we're probably okay.
Yeah.
But tonight will be, if you get some complaints, then we can use that.
And we usually always do get some complaints. I'm sure it'll start amping up again. We've been getting them in other communities over the weekend and stuff. I don't think there was anything here this weekend, but just kind of want to. I think last year everything went pretty well with just educating them. When we go talk to them, then they were able to shut it down. So hopefully that'll be the case this year too. So.
Good.
The only other question for you is if somebody does call about the transient license thing, you want me to have them call dispatch, or what number should I give them to call?
If they call about that, like how to get one?
Well, no, just to report that there's somebody around town here that's trying to sell stuff and they're not sure.
Call dispatch.
Dispatch, okay.
Yep. They have the non-emergency line. You can contact that number too. Then they would, if we're working, they could call us directly. But if we're not working, then they'll just send the closest person there to go check them out. So that's always the best route.
That's what I figured. That's why we've talked about this before. What is the best choke point to put, those numbers to? And that's why I thought that we use dispatch, and that way, whoever's closest, whatever.
Yeah, and that's one of the cases that we would want to check on them, preferably right away, rather than waiting, just in case it is something different.
Correct.
So,
Okay.
Are those really loud fireworks, the big boom ones, are those legal? Or it's just one big loud boom?
I don't believe that there's any stipulations on that. But those
As long as
types of
they're
things,
short,
those types of things, like typically how we would handle it out in the county is it would fall under, because there's not like a county ordinance on it, it would fall more under a disorderly conduct thing. So, if it's late at night and we start getting a bunch of complaints, we talk to them and they continue it, then they're knowingly annoying people. So then we could fall under charging them with disorderly conduct or something because of the noise. So that's kind of how we would handle that. Any other questions?
Put up Class C stuff,
Some of them are a lot louder than others.
Oh, yeah. You guys are right.
Not going to disagree there. So, well, let's hope you guys don't get bugged too much for fireworks stuff here in the next couple of days.
It's usually not too bad, so.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Harry, you're up.
Can I just sit here or do I need to go out there?
Move the mic.
Oh, you can move the mic to it, Mike.
Oh, okay.
That works.
Okay. My name is Mary O'Neill. I'm with the North Dakota Forest Service, which is an agency of NDSU. Recently, I did what is called a community threat assessment protocol, which is just really a fancy word for a public tree inventory in Horace. So I'm going to kind of go over a few things with that today. So what exactly is a CTAP? Like I said, it means Community Threat Assessment Protocol, and it's just an inventory of all the public trees that are in Horace. These are being done in response to increasing concern of invasive forest insects and diseases in North Dakota. So what this will do is provide current information about your community forest resources, enable Horace to make educated management decisions, and allow Horace to update and manage their community forest by using the ND tip tool, which I will go into a little bit later. So this is showing a map of all the CTAPs that were done from 2012 to 2017. So I'll just you can kind of see a lot of red dots on the map, and that means there's a high percentage of green ash, or just ash trees in general, and that's over 40%. And then the yellow squares are 15 to 40% of ash trees, and then the green triangle, which are there's 3 communities in the western part of the state, have 15% or less of ash. And I'm going to talk about a little bit why we're picking on ash trees. So a few benefits of trees. I think we are all familiar with the benefits. There's our environmental, social, economic, communal benefits with trees. Stormwater retention, places for kids to play, softens, infrastructure. So I'll go now into Horace's CTAP results, which you can see here is Horace is really spread out, but a lot of these developments are new, and there's not really a lot of what we consider boulevard or public trees. There's a lot of trees in Horace, but they might not necessarily be public trees. So what I did was I inventoried what I knew were public trees, but part of the tip tool is once I've completed this inventory, then someone from the city or volunteer from the city can kind of take that tool and use it. So we can kind of figure out things like what the first gentleman was talking about. We can easily take care of trees that way. So there was 206 public trees, which I'm sure there might be more. There was about 17 different species represented, and your approximate annual benefit, which benefits include stormwater runoff, property value, energy savings, air quality, etc., about 21,000. So now I was talking about the high percentage of green ash. You're at about 40.8%. So, and what we want to be at for each tree species is at about that 10% mark. So we're well above that with the green ash. And the next is the bur oak, which that was mainly in the parks. A lot of beautiful oaks in the park. And then there's poplar cultivars, box elder, and American linden. So those are all right around that 10% mark, which is kind of where we want to be. So this is the diameter distribution. And you kind of want to have those younger trees, those 0 to 6 and 7 to 12 inch diameter trees, because those are the trees that you may lose more often than something that's already established. So with Horace, what we want to do is get that 0 to 6 up where the 13 to 18 inch diameter is. We want that to be the highest mark. So we want to start doing some more young tree plantings and adding to the parks or adding to boulevards and things like that. So we have that nice distribution. We kind of want that yellow line to go like that and have that mixed urban forest. So as far as tree condition, most of the trees are good to fair condition. 198 out of 206 are in good to fair condition, which is really good news. So you really only have 7 trees in poor condition and none that are, standing dead trees, which, you don't want standing dead trees at all, because that becomes a hazard to people and to the environment around them. So we're doing good as far as that's concerned. So the benefits, I'll go over a little bit. Obviously, they're going to give you energy savings. They're going to give you air quality savings, stormwater runoff. Runoff prevention is 305,440 gallons. Just think if you in 20 years you double your urban forest, that number will double as well. And carbon stored, property values. Property values is a big one. When you get those larger size trees, then people's property values go up, and everybody likes that. So that's good. And I mentioned the tip tool, which is our inventory software, and I'm not sure if someone's reviewed the webinar or not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. So once somebody from the city, whoever's interested, maybe someone's interested in trees, or maybe someone could incorporate this as part of their job. I know, everyone's got a whole bunch of different things they have to do, but this is a really easy tool where you can log in and see what's going on. You can add planting spaces. You can add trees that, okay, let's remove this tree. You can have all that in this software and kind of see what's going on. It's a lot of communities have been really using it. It's very helpful for grants too, as well. Like when you apply for grants and things like that, you can kind of get a map and see, okay, well, we'll remove these and then we'll add trees in these areas, and it's a really handy tool. So once somebody takes that training, I could come back and we could go over some things. We could go out in the field and try it, because this is just really, it's a website. You log in, you can use your phone, you can use your laptop, you can use a tablet, whatever is the most handy for you. And you can be driving around town and be like, oh, this tree looks bad. Let's log in, let's find it. The GPS will put you pretty much on the spot. Tap it, like, okay, says it's in good condition, but it's really in poor condition. It probably should be removed. You can flag it, and then you can go back and remove it. So, and I mentioned the ash trees, and most North Dakota communities have about 45% ash in their communities, which is way over that 10% mark. We want to be right at that 10% mark. And people went to plant ash because of Dutch elm disease, and we lost all the elms. So then we planted a whole bunch of ash, and that's now going the way of emerald ash borer, which has not been found in North Dakota yet. But This winter, it was found in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which was sort of surprising, and then recently in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So that 29 corridor, I would not be surprised if it shows up in North Dakota at some point. So what we are trying to do, especially with this inventory, is try to get people to start, okay, let's start removing some of these poor or fair condition looking ash trees, because you look around, I mean, just outside here, there's a few ash trees lining the property here that, you know, not looking the best. So that's what we're trying to get people to do, to just get started. So when emerald ash borer does get here, which it probably will at some point, you're not gonna lose that whole canopy right away. So a community forestry action plan, we kind of started on this because I came here in, I think it was February or March, and I presented, I talked about doing this inventory. I completed the inventory in May. So that's good. I think you have a tree ordinance. So in any ordinance, you should recommend folks who want to plant trees to ask the city, like, well, what should we plant? Because we don't necessarily want people planting certain things in the boulevard, like he was mentioning. You don't want conifers, you know.
Right, I think we've got the
Tree list.
list, the
Oh,
tree list
good.
is in there, yeah.
Okay.
So we just need to publish it and make it a little more visible, maybe.
Yeah, yep. So just make sure, you know, we don't want people planting green ash or any kind of
Right.
ash anymore either. So
Yep.
that'd be good. You probably a tree board would be the next step, unless there's one already. And those meetings can happen once a month or once every couple of months. Apply for cost share tree planting grants. We have grants available every year, and that starts in March. You have from March to April to apply for these grants, and I'll kind of go over that in a little bit. Begin removing the poor to fair condition public trees, especially if they're green ash. Have annual Arbor Day celebrations, and Arbor Days can be, you know, pretty much anything as long as it's kind of tree related. I could come and do a workshop, or you could plant a tree at the school, or, you know, it doesn't have to be a whole bunch of trees to be planted. It can be pretty much anything that works for you. You want to start planting trees every year to replace normal losses and to gradually increase the number of trees, public trees in Horace. So again, you know, a lot of people may have them on their property and there may not be room in the boulevard space. So that's something I could be around to help out with too. We don't want things to get really crowded either.
That was the thing that was interesting, because I'm looking at your map, I could think of a few trees in town that, like, okay, that one's planted in the boulevard, but you didn't have it flagged, so what does that mean to be a boulevard tree that you count it as a public tree?
It means, well, a lot of times, well, boulevards usually, you go and there's the street, there's the boulevard and the sidewalk. There's usually a sidewalk, and here there's really not
Yeah,
a
so
sidewalk,
that's
so
their
I
whole
wasn't
delineator.
sure
Okay.
what, usually it's from the middle of the road to a certain 30 feet, 35 feet, so I wasn't sure, so I kind of just was like, well,
Okay.
once they take over, that's something they can
Okay.
kind of add, and then they can learn how to use the tool as well, so.
Because it's a bit of a judgment call to determine what is considered a public tree.
Right,
And then, because I could think of in our development, it was intended that a lot of the boulevard trees were planted, but yet there was no sidewalk.
Sure.
To delineate that. So I would consider them public trees, but obviously they're not considered true public
right,
trees.
well, they probably are public trees, but I was unsure.
Sure. Okay.
You know, and for me, what I do is I come in and then I can kind of give you an idea.
Okay.
This is where we're at. You know, this is where we're at with the ash trees. It's obviously an issue.
Right.
But once you view the webinars, whoever views it, you can go out and you can add those.
Okay.
You can certainly add those because it's up to each city. It's not,
Okay.
I'm going to miss them, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. Okay.
So, and then you want to plant a variety of diverse species, obviously, because we've kind of learned our lesson as far as the elms and the ash. So we kind of want diverse plantings. You know, people like those streets that are just lined with all those elms, you know, because it creates that beautiful canopy. But when something like Dutch elm comes along or emerald ash borer, and then it wipes out that whole thing, we kind of want to stay away from that. So.
Question, how many different recommendations of tree species are there that grow well in North Dakota?
Well, I have a list, so I have some stuff for you, and I can also send a PDF. But there's many. There's a lot when you think about it. I mean, There's Dutch elm resistant elms. A lot of communities are planting those, and those do really well. They grow fast. People like that. You can do more lindens, basswood, maple. People like maple because of the fall colors and that. But maples are picky with soils, so you got to be careful there. Oaks are beautiful, but they're slow growing, so a lot of people don't. They want those poplars that grow really fast, but they only last 50 to 60 years, and then they look crappy. So, and there's Kentucky coffee tree. I've seen a lot of communities plant beautiful catalpas. They have those orchid-like flowers in the spring. They're really beautiful. I've seen communities plant those that are doing well. Birch does well here. You could try buckeye, honey locust. I mean, there's a lot. Crab apples, people love
I
those.
think that list is a list that the city has.
I think so. too.
Probably.
I think
I
that's the one
probably gave it at some point.
It sounds
So-
familiar. That's why I
Yeah.
just, unless there was an expansion of it, that it's some
Yep.
trees.
So on what we like. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go.
Is your list very close to the NDUS's list too? The North Dakota State University?
Yep. That's from the extension.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Yep.
Because that is a very extensive list.
Yep. And this
It's
is
a great
just
list.
just
And
this.
that's a list I lived off of when I was on the Forestry Commission in Minot.
Oh, okay. This is just kind of a pared down version a little bit because it can get a little much. Especially for communities. We want to stay. We don't plant conifers in boulevards. You can plant them in parks certainly, but we kind of want to stay away from that. And then, flowering trees, and people love those. Especially under power lines, those are work really well. So, and then too, we want to do Tree City USA. We kind of want to get that obtained here, and I'll kind of go into that in the next slide. So what is a Tree City USA? So there's really 4 standards. One is a tree board or tree department, or you could use your city council too if you needed to. Tree care ordinance, a community forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita. And for Horace, that would be about a little over $5,000. Which when you think about it, community must do towards planting, tree care, removal of city trees, and the planning efforts to make that happen. So that amount would be added up really quickly. So, and then standard 4 is an Arbor Day observance and proclamation. So, and we have currently 53 Tree City USAs in North Dakota. The largest, obviously, is Fargo, and the smallest is Sibley, North Dakota, which is population 20. So I tell everyone, if they can do it,
That's easy.
anybody can do it. So, and this is just a list of the grants we offer every year. And this does not change. There's 3 different grants. The Community Family Forest Grant is a smaller grant, and that's up to $2,000 if you're Tree City USA, and $1,500 if you're not. And that's an 80-20 match. So a lot of the smaller communities like to start with that one because they don't have to put in so much work as far as match goes. And then we have 2 America the Beautiful grants. One is a tree planting grant, which is obvious, you do the tree plantings. And then another one is program development, which that is, you can do tree removals, you can do Emerald Ash Borer action plan, all kinds of different things that don't necessarily relate to tree planting. So I would highly advise applying for 1 or 2 because you could have, the city could apply for a grant, and if you have a park board, they could apply for a grant as well. So you can really do a lot of damage, so to speak, as far as getting some trees planted. So I'm here, and I can help out with anything from coming here to present about this kind of stuff. I can help out with management plans and ordinances, Emerald Ash Borer action plan. I can help with tree selection, proper planting, and tree care. I can assist with grant applications, and I can do, like I did, assessment surveys. I can do hand-on trainings. I can do workshops. Not too long ago, I did a workshop in Valley City about pruning young fruit trees. So pretty much anything tree-related, give me a shout, and I can come help, whether it's, something like this, or grant applications, or workshops, or what have you. So And the last page, if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Well, it's kind of like we got started with the putting together a tree committee, and a few other things. Now we just got to keep moving it along. You know, that's kind of where it's at. Got it started, got things
Yep.
moving a little bit. We got to keep on that. Just trying to think if there was one other thing I was going to ask you. Yes.
We can do better.
Yeah.
There's always that. There is. But you guys have started, so that's a good thing.
But I was expecting to see, so you said about 40%, all of those, are most of those mature ash?
Yep,
That are
and-
almost all of them are at risk? I mean, I was wondering back on this slide here, that you had the dots, does the dot represent the variety of tree?
Yep. So I think with this, the orange dots, there's
So
a line
this
of them.
right here?
Yep, those are all ash.
Oh.
So, yep, and that you would be able to see if you logged into Tip Tool, it'll tell you all of those
Oh.
trees. So as you can see, most of the clusters are in the parks because, like I said, I wasn't sure as far as what was considered a boulevard tree or not. So this was just to kind of get an idea for
Right.
you of where you're at as far as your species and canopy and stuff like that.
So this is something we would have access to update. I mean,
Yep.
because there might, like I said, there might be some areas here that we know are city that
Exactly.
you probably didn't, and that's fine. Then we can we can add to this too, just to make sure that
Yep.
so we're inventorying as much as we can.
Yep. So I think you could click on, there's the tip tool page, which was that. There's that website, so click on that. And once you view the webinar, you'll be able to get your own login and you can add trees and change things on,
Right. It would
whatever
just-
you need to do. So
It's more to just help us. You got an excellent start there. I was just thinking that we know there's some other areas here that are public and we could get those
Yep.
in here too.
Yep, and that's kind of the beauty of that too, is that you'll then learn, be like, okay, well, these are all the public trees. I'm not quite sure what this tree is, but I can see here that this tree that was inventoried previously is, an ash, an elm, a poplar, whatever. What does it look like? Oh, it looks like that, so that's what it
Right.
is. So it's kind of helps with identification as well.
Okay. That's what I was wondering, if the tool helps with some of the identification, or there's always Google.
Yep, and there's an option too. You can take a photo of the tree. So I tried to do that with a few of the trees here in town, so you kind of have an idea. Because sometimes maybe you're going to update your inventory in the winter. What's what in the winter. So that'll help with that too. If something's obviously dead or things like that. So. And once someone does view the webinar, and I can come back and, like I said, we can go out in the field and kind of play around with it and can learn how to use it because it's
It's pretty simple.
it's simple, and if you're computer savvy, you'll catch on to it right away. It's basically like anything else you would use. It's like ArcMap but simple.
But in other words, though, coming back here, if these diagrams, does that come out of the tip tool? Or?
I made those, but
Okay.
you can. It has like
It has all the raw
a pared
data.
down version. Yep. So you could click on tree species, and it'll tell you. It'll have a pie
So
chart.
Shows you the counts of the numbers. Okay.
Yep. All that data is on there, and the same with like the benefits and things like that.
Cool.
So it's very user friendly. I'm working on just a basic user manual for some communities because some people are scared to get on there and feel like they're going to screw something up. So I'm trying to make it as user friendly as possible because it's a great tool. I mean,
You guys, any other questions?
All good.
Yep.
So my property, I have a line with ash trees.
oh,
So would you recommend that I, now, start taking out every other one and planting something else?
that's certainly up to you. A lot of people do that. You don't have to clear cut by any means, but if you want to remove a couple and then plant something else, do that. Every year, you could certainly do that because you don't want to wipe out your canopy all at once. But if you're, and maybe a couple of them are it could
What's
do
the
without
average
those.
What's the average lifespan of those?
Of ash?
Yeah.
They live for a long time, you know, a couple hundred years, which is too bad. So I would, you know, suggest if there's, I mean, we don't have to worry about anything now because emerald ash borer isn't here, but if there's, you know, a significant, huge ash tree, then once it does get here, you would treat
But
that.
that would be the thing, if we walk around your own property and you know, oh, all my trees are ash, that could be an action that they take. All right, we're
Yep.
gonna start a plan
Yep.
to replace them.
Yep, or do buddy
To your
plantings,
point.
you know, leave them all there and just plant something near
Else.
it. That when you do cut it down, that it won't, you know, completely take it out. But, you know, a lot of people do the buddy plantings because they don't want to necessarily get rid of it right away. So, but if you have a line of them, I mean, that's what I would do. I would just, you, you know.
And don't transport, that's probably.
Oh,
the
yeah, if you
no
cut them
transporting
and
of wood.
just burn it on your property or.
Well, I heard that burning doesn't necessarily protect the wood either, so what?
Oh,
is there-
well, we don't have to worry anything that's
So for
here.
now, we can burn it, but apparently that
Yeah.
is an issue, if there is wood that it does have emerald ash borer, that burning it evidently it leaves the wood or something, I read something about that, no?
I
Not sure?
haven't really, well, it might be true, I don't know.
Right.
But many cities have their own
Okay.
way that they kind of deal with it, so. But once it's here, it's,
Yes.
As far as the insecticide of the boring and stuff, so I've read some of that, it's been working real well. Is that cost effective for up in this neck of the woods or not?
it depends on the size of the tree. I would say if there is a tree, you know, huge, then it'd probably be worth treating. But if you're talking, which most of the ash trees around here are not, and they don't look the best, I really wouldn't
If
waste.
you got a good specimen,
Oh yeah, then
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Or
worth
if
trying to save
it's
it.
you know meaningful, maybe somebody planted it that you know it's totally up to you. You know, it's just
Are they all susceptible to the
emerald ash borer.
disease,
Yeah.
whether they're a young tree or an old tree?
Yep. Yep. It's
bug.
a
It's a bug
beetle.
that gets at 'em.
Yep. It'll go in there and lay eggs, and then the larvae kind of eats the phloem, which is the life force of the tree. And a lot of times you don't know it's even there until 3, 4, 5 years later when the tree all of a sudden is just dead. So that's kind of what we want to stay away from is those boulevards and streets full of dead trees eventually because it's a matter of time. So.
Scary stuff.
Yeah.
one more real quick.
Okay.
if I could. Maybe in the happenings, if they were to put a half a page or page thing, look at your ashes, and if you have one that's looking, you know, poorly, whatever, that's one of the ones to take out if it's healthy.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, it's
good guidelines like that, and, you know, here's some treatment places, and here's some arborists that will maybe cut your tree
Yep.
down or something.
Yep.
Give people a quick education, because I know that a lot of people do read the happenings.
Yep.
Well, that's good, yeah. No, but you're right. I mean, just to get more awareness out there. That's why we did that in the. I think we put that in the last tapping.
Yeah, well, there was something.
Yeah, so it's probably just a continuing education. We'll just keep putting stuff out there.
Yep, because a lot of people do know about emerald ash borer. I mean,
It's been in the news
it's
and
been
in the
news
paper.
a lot, especially in the last few months because of the findings in Winnipeg and Sioux Falls.
Right.
So,
Well,
Proximity.
It would be kind of interesting to, you know, like if you show the photo here, right? If we got a few trees even in the parks with this on it, then it raises awareness in a hurry.
yeah, that was a
Because
whole
all of a sudden
idea.
People all of a sudden go, wow, we're susceptible. Wow, I didn't
Yep.
realize that.
Yep. I worked in Minneapolis previously, and we had similar ribbon, and there would be streets, you know, blocks. They would all be lined with that ribbon, and people would just be like, whoa, okay.
It's kind of
Serious, you know, yeah. So this has been extremely helpful tool.
Yeah.
So, and I was glad I drove around town to see the ribbon, so that was good. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, we'll try and put together something get out in the HH on that. So, okay, anybody else?
Yeah. My
Thank you,
pleasure.
Mary, for coming on.
My
here.
pleasure, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
We'll probably have you coming on here
Absolutely.
again. Okay,
Yep.
so-
I'm close by in Lisbon, so
Perfect.
It's not too far. Thanks for having
No,
me.
thank you. Yeah. Well, Brent, that gets to you then. Employee handbook.
This is more of, I said a discussion, but it's more of an update for council.
Okay.
at the July 16th meeting, you'll see the employee handbook that our HR consultant, Jan Willem, has been working on. That will be brought to council for action. You will see within, probably towards the end of this week, a draft of this for council's feedback individually, so we can incorporate any comments if you have. Some of the council has seen this, have been working with Councilmember Fenelon and Mayor Peterson about this. So we do have a draft pretty much ready to go. It will go to council and staff to be able to have opportunity for comment and legal review. So I've gone through all those different areas by the time you'd see it on the 16th. This is a very extensive overhauling of what we had compared to what we currently have. However, it addresses a lot of areas that our current employee handbook or personnel policy does not address that we should be addressing. So there will be some changes in regards to how we handle different components related to employees. So that will be, and I just trying to make you aware of that beforehand.
So I was gonna suggest when you guys get it, let's make sure we all review it and just make sure that that's what we're thinking.
Yep.
So, okay.
And I will have our HR consultant, Jen Willem, here. She'll be here at the next council meeting to present it and answer any questions that you have regarding that. And then she'll start getting into the different areas that we've contracted with her to work on. This has been the first priority. Then she'll get into job descriptions and performance review processes. So just a heads up.
Okay. The next one is yours too.
Yep, the next one is portfolios. With former council member May no longer in council and Councilmember Johnson on now, we have some changes in portfolio assignments. There are a handful of different portfolios that are available. I've talked with Councilmember Johnson about a couple. So one would be the park board, and then the bean days, I believe, were a couple that we talked about, and she'd be willing to take on those. Or we could have potential need for some new portfolios, law enforcement, economic development, and then MetroCog. Former Councilmember May was the representative for MetroCog. I've talked with Corey and John Grossman about those, and last I recall, John was willing to help out with the MetroCog side of things. However, that's a discussion between council on how you would like to work out portfolio assignments. If you'd like to create the new ones, like I said, law enforcement, economic development, if you see a need for any other portfolios, and who would do assignments.
Boy, everyone's jumping.
List them off again, Brent. You said the economic development.
Economic development
Law
and
enforcement.
law enforcement are two proposed new ones.
Okay.
And then MetroCog is the other big one. And then the other two,
Okay.
and then the other two, Chelsea Johnson had, would be Bean Days and the parks, which kind of go hand in hand. So,
Okay.
yep. And I would recommend that you keep the current portfolios you have, unless you're dying to change. Because, like I was talking to one council member earlier today, they mentioned they're just starting to get in the swing of things. You know, getting used to those portfolios. So, Councilmember Fenelon has the personnel and operations, and Brian has the infrastructure, public works side. You're really just starting to get into understanding those portfolios now. So, if you want to change them up, you can, but I'd recommend you probably keep them the same for now.
So you recommend we don't just shift one over?
Unless you
whatever
want
it
to.
was, you get it, papers, and
If you want to play musical portfolios,
Yeah.
you're welcome to.
I just wanted to make sure.
I'll be more than accommodating for you.
Yeah, for economic development, though, law enforcement, should probably think about that, because I think it's probably going to get time here soon, especially when we bring on this other person for an economic development portfolio, start getting the
We're
introduction.
gonna have a representative from the council. Police, I've got, so what does that usually entail? I mean, other than, is it like being a point of contact for deputies and so forth? Or what's the purpose behind having that as a portfolio item?
Well, you know,
John
actually,
was-
I was wanting to know. Brett and I had a
Okay, so you can
conversation.
explain it.
Yeah, Brett and I had a conversation, and you know, with our growing community and law enforcement, emergency services, you know, Corey called me the day of the incident down the road, and that was very interesting, very fascinating. We learned a lot that day. And with growing community, I thought it might be something that we add to it. And in fact, with being in town most of the time, I'd be willing to help on that too. I don't think, it's not really I think a lot to work on. We have fantastic service down there already, but it's just something to keep in communication and it's big.
Well, we'd have a point of contact on the council, then you guys could just.
I mean, there are things that we probably could be doing that we aren't doing today, such as disaster planning. You know, there's some things like that that we could even, you know, that could fall into that, right? As part of, if nothing else, working with the county, working with the city to say, okay, let's at least get some framework in place, you know, for some of those. You know, I'm making stuff up, but.
Well, even with the call on the transient merchant licensing
Right.
conversation, you know, people are calling in with concerns about it. And, you know, we had some deliveries done a year ago that people were scoping out houses during the day, and, you know, just little things that come up that I think do some education
Yeah.
to the people.
Yeah.
Maybe ATV with the kids. I know Sharon was very adamant about wanting to work on that, and I know Jesse's organizing that as we speak to get that done, so.
Like the public safety.
Yeah,
but yet
there's a
public safety,
few
but
things
yet,
to do.
you know,
And with the
community
school coming.
protection, community safety.
Yeah, with the school coming, you know, the SRO officer is gonna be a Fargo PD, I believe. Or, I'm sorry, West Fargo PD and all that, but yet there's still a relationship between you guys and.
We have a pretty good relationship with them right now with Officer Pearson over at Horace Elementary and stuff. So we're still in there all the time. We go to their lockdown drills. We're very much involved with the schools, and we will be again with the new school coming too. And with the new portfolio and stuff, I think that would be a good idea for us because we work for the sheriff's office, but we're really a tool for you guys if there's stuff like, there's anything that you want us to work on, if there's, an education piece that you want to put out there that we can maybe figure out for you or do that research. You guys know the needs of your city and stuff, so if there's any way that we can help out, be that asset for you guys, then we want to do that, so that it's good for contact and stuff.
No, I think that's a good idea.
I think we need to start thinking about it, because I would see this area also over time as we're growing and we start getting to that decision point of additional
Right.
people or whatever. We wanted to have good fact-based data and information, and that would be something that this
Absolutely.
portfolio could kind of try and bring forward to help us make decisions versus kind of guessing.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I would say that economic development would be an area that I'm interested in, so, I mean, that is something that's of interest, I'll just put it that way. So we can talk about it a little bit more about what we would include in that.
So basically, you got your foot in the door, but you're not walking all the way through here yet.
No, I'm not gonna commit just yet.
Okay.
I'm
We
just
said
gonna
we're
state
gonna
that.
continue the conversation.
You railroad
right?
them?
Well, I'm just gonna say,
Well, yeah.
I'm not, with my travel schedule and stuff for work, I'm not willing to take on any additional
No,
right now, so I got too much. So.
Yeah, so I.
And this might be an area Councilmember Johnson
Yeah,
might be
I mean,
interested in too.
It all depends on what you wanna take on, right?
Yeah, I guess we didn't really have a whole lot of conversation about the portfolios. I maybe should have given Brent a call and gotten a little more feedback on what, everything's.
I wouldn't worry, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some more
But-
portfolios coming around. More stuff.
I mean,
We'll find more.
future planning, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I'm pretty big into that, so that would be good.
And that's where, maybe, for each of these, like economic development, do we refine what that portfolio is? Is it really truly economic development? or is it more like community planning kind of, you know? We could talk about refining what these
Yeah,
portfolios
and
are.
that's-
Actually, you
I mean,
could
like,
probably
I need a
split it up a
little
little
more.
bit more too.
And that maybe makes more sense to split it up, yeah, you're right.
Brett and I actually talked about that one a little bit as well, and one of the parts to that would be like a business association organizer, you know, because we do have a lot of business in town, and they offer a lot. We need to get feedback from them, organizing different events as well, and seeing what we can bring in.
Overall, this person's going to work a lot, obviously, with myself, but the community development director, they're going to work hand in hand with that person. When it comes to anything you could think of economic development wise, trying to recruit businesses, obviously the community development director is going to be the lead dealing with that, but if we have a meeting, you know, trying to talk to a business, the obvious choice for a council representative would be whoever is tied with the economic development side. So that's where they could fall into also trying to do incentives or figure out ways to motivate more development or control that with the business side. So,
Okay.
but we can refine it more if you'd like and discuss that one further at a future meeting.
Okay.
I don't think we're here to make a decision on these.
You don't have to.
No, it was just more to have that discussion and.
Well, I guess the one that just comes to mind quickly is I know that it's, Sharon's still working on it, assuming it's bean days, but it would be very nice to have somebody from the council on that to keep it moving.
Oh, absolutely.
Actually, you mentioned Bean Days. Bean Days and MetroCog are the two that, if you are comfortable with making a decision on tonight, that would be beneficial. If you're not, we can bring it up on the 16th.
Well, yeah, because the sooner the better on the MetroCog one, because we need to have representation on there. It needs to be an elected official. Being Sharon's not on it right now, so so it's going to have to be this month.
Does Chelsea have anything want for that one? or-
I mean, I'm open to, you know, whatever. I don't really want to just plan bean days. So
I
you guys
understand.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yep.
But yeah, if that's be something that I mean, it's one of those things where you learn an awful lot about what's going on in the metro area as far as like, I know right now they're ramping up for the transportation thing. You're talking about that and how they're going to try and do some of the, basically from 100 all the way up to 52nd Avenue. That's on their radar.
Yeah.
So sitting in on that would be very helpful.
I guess the side right is that it's a lot of, or Brent, you said it's a lot of meetings during the day.
Is day meetings, MetroCog board meets, I want to say it's second or third Thursday.
Isn't it like at 10 o'clock or something?
No, it's
11?
3 or 4. I think it's 4.
4 is one of them.
And they're pretty good about keeping to an hour-long meeting. It's from what Sharon was telling me. Russ would know more.
I go to the technical committee.
Yeah.
And we're usually in an hour,
Yeah,
but we meet at 10 a.m.
yeah.
Okay, that was what I know one of them met early in the
Yeah,
morning.
but the board meets at 4 o'clock, but then also Horace has a seat on the executive committee, and that meets a little bit more sporadic, just depending on the needs of MetroCog at the time. So they will handle like personnel issues for MetroCog and more, you know, the high level important decisions that need to be made before their board can meet. So
You also should have an alternate for the policy board. I was the one for that, but turns out that I can't vote twice a month. I can't vote on the technical committee and then vote on the policy. So you should have an alternate as well.
That's something we need to get squared away tonight, Russ, or is that something that can wait till the 16th and we have a little bit more conversation?
Yeah, 16th will be fine because technical committee meets on the 12th.
Okay.
So you're another week out.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Okay. So that's, we should probably define the list of things that we need to get filled, and then let's just verify who wants to do what. Start filling these in here by the end of the month. Okay, anybody got anything else, or we'll move on? All right. Next thing you had down here, Brent, was the office space options.
Okay, this one is continuation from our last regular council meeting. This is more of an opportunity now that we have the full council at the table. We asked to at least narrow down the quotes that we had. We had 3 proposals for redoing office structure where staff is. So this is cubicle office area. We brought it down to, of the 3,
Information from last to the quotes
Yeah,
out
that's
there?
fine.
yeah, it would be on the,
June 18th?
yes, June 18th, and you had a Business Essentials and a Christensen's and Hannahers. We had those 3 quotes. They were,
So I want you guys to be here for this, just to double check what we're seeing.
Okay.
yeah,
So,
they were all within about $2,000 of each other, but council recommended we move forward with the Christensen's quote for consideration. They're all very similar, quoting pretty much the exact same thing, maybe just a different brand. So we're looking at that proposal. It was for $28,500.
and this is the office furniture in.
Yeah, there would be desks and cubicle for City Hall.
Okay.
So that would be the quote that you'd see, $28,486.08. Like I said, at the last council meeting, regular council meeting that we had, there was some interest from council to look into office space, having like a office space built, and we could be a leasing tenant of that. So we have the Christensen proposal, and then we weren't asking to move forward with that at that time because we wanted to consider this other scenario. So this is really to see where is council do you want to proceed with getting quotes on this, on getting a lease type agreement, how long it would take to build, discuss pros and cons. Where do you want to go? There's a lot of different options, but this could be a Band-Aid until we could get into that type of situation of leasing or other options for City Hall.
So was this actually changing the layout of the office today?
Yep.
Yes,
Since you guys had,
yes. So what you see
so
there.
they just didn't include it in that quote?
Yeah, they didn't include it in the quote, but that diagram you were just on, there are some changes. It creates basically 2 actual offices and then some working stations. The working stations are similar to what we have, similar concept, a little bigger. And then it creates a more open area. So when you walk in the front door, you'll see the where Matea sits. And
Oh, this would
then
be where Matea sits
that is
right
where Matea sits right now. And then off to the side there, that'd be more of a copy or mailroom type approach or feel. So the copier would likely be in the middle there with a desk there or a countertop, so we could sort items if need be and have a working space on that.
So these would be closed walls, so to
Yes,
speak?
yes.
The walls would also be taller, so the noise would be decreased.
That's what I'm wondering, if the walls, do they go to the ceiling or are they just?
They would be about
taller?
6
4
or 6.5 feet tall,
Okay.
and then they have a 2-foot extender that's glass,
Okay.
so it'll let in the natural sunlight a little bit more.
Knock down some of the noise.
Yeah, but
And
it'll
those
help
are
knock.
movable.
Yes,
So basically whatever is purchased here could be moved to the new
yes,
location.
yes, it could.
Or sold off. It's all portable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I did have a conversation with a person who owns some property right north of Casey's, and I was gone to Florida that week, and then getting back last week, and then forth this week. I'm trying to make connection. I need to have probably Corey and Brent meet with them and just have some open discussion on what the possibility is. There's actually another one too that we could look at of doing some shared office space for a short term. You know, that
Well, it'd be like almost like a transition.
yeah, exactly. It's still a stepping stone from what we permanently would like to do at some point.
I would suggest we continue down that path, but this at least gives us, looking at the layout, it gives us the ability to house 7 people in that room comfortably. That's 7 people, plus we still have the office out in the shop that the public works guys could go. We'd still now have these cubes that are currently there. We could move out there.
Yeah.
If we needed more space in that heated building, we could. In the current one they're in, we could add another office if needed. You know, there's room there. So, you know, we've invested in the carpeting and the lights and all that to upgrade this office. Plus, we just put a new roof on it. I think we should move forward with at least this is gonna take a couple of months to get. It will allow us to be more productive, and then these things you guys are working on would probably take upwards of a year to get to a point that it's even
Potentially.
ready or more. And so, and this is, as we said, could be moved to the new spot, that type of stuff. I think, when we were talking about kind of, people, what we might or might not need, I think would still get us through a few years here if we need to.
Is that still something that would be left here with this building too? We have no
Correct.
thought into what we
Could be
I
left
think
as
if
this
you're gonna
becomes a
buy
public
new
works.
stuff, you should make sure it can be moved. I mean, you've got the money into it, and there's no reason why it should be able to be utilized.
Right.
Especially if you're gonna expand, number of employees. Maybe you wanna have some built-in offices in the new place, but then these movable ones can be,
And I think that was the point when
Yeah.
we did this, was that this could be moved into the new facilities.
And then we could store our current stuff we have, because long-term, this could be like office space for public works staff down the road or something. But yes, the thought was with having a new cubicle structure, we could carry that on with us in the future.
So what do you think?
I would like us to move forward with the lowest bid that they chose.
Christensen.
Okay?
That's a motion?
You have
Well,
a
I
motion?
guess where is
Yes.
the money gonna come from specifically? That's what we need to determine.
It's always the question. It would have to be, we'd have to do, like, some of our other purchases, we'd have to do a budget amendment, which we'll have to do a whole bunch of towards the end of the year. There are funds within the general fund. It's just that we're gonna have to spend on some of that probably.
So basically spending some of the reserve.
Yes. Or what I would call fund balance, basically the money that's in the checking account that isn't in the budget per se. So,
Okay, just wanna be clear on that, that's what
Yep.
we're doing. I motion that we move forward with Christensen's furniture quote, as provided, what was it, 28,500?
Yep. 20,486.
Okay.
I'd second that.
John's the second on that.
One discussion, it really 2 months to get that?
about 6 weeks.
Really?
By the time you order it, and then it all comes in, and then they do install.
It's just in time, there's no inventory on this stuff,
Yeah.
Okay.
so.
Took longer for our office.
Yeah. But I believe
Yeah,
Christensen.
Yeah, but you had all that gold plated stuff that took forever.
Just saying. Letting you know. Be happy with 6 weeks.
And you go through up with lawyers.
And Christensen's did do onset Twitchell's offices. I believe they've also did the new city hall for Fargo. Did they do that?
Oh, yeah, and the fire hall.
The
here.
fire hall here. So they have done quite a few government buildings and have a good reputation. So
Okay, I'll roll call it. John?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Chelsea?
yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
would you like us to pursue discussions on office space?
Yes.
At least start it.
Let's start that.
Because we can't make any decision without all the information and timelines
Yep.
and those types of things.
But I think that'll also involve you and myself
Yep.
and Brent getting together with
List
that.
to start with. And
Have
then
that
we'll-
conversation and see where
Yep.
that's,
At least have a plan in place, yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
So right now it's pretty nebulous.
Yep. Here we go.
All right. So with that, we'll move on to the North Dakota Public Finance Authority confirmation letter.
The letter, we just received that it was approved, the loan amount. So we can continue to go forward. That's what that's.
I want to hear woo. All right. This has been a long time coming, and
No
we've been
doubt.
waiting on this letter since January, February.
You're
easily.
earlier than that.
So there's been a lot of communication with the Public Finance Authority to get this approved, so that's most awesome, thank you. Carrie,
Good
for
work.
your help moving that forward, because that was, what should have been easy was more difficult than expected. Let's just put it that way.
Well, anyway, so
So I'm
we can get on
very
with it.
pleased
Yep.
that we got that approval, so we can move ahead, so, thank you.
Okay, so the next thing here, Lucas, grass height ordinance.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. The grass one plays in well after the tree discussion. Now we're going to start tackling tall grass. Currently, if there is any tall grass or weeds, the city has to go through the nuisance process, which is
A nuisance.
a hassle. Yes,
Which is
it's
a nuisance.
So this ordinance will, in effect, allow the city, if a resident doesn't mow their tall grass, it allows the city to then go in and mow the property. And in addition, it does require that the city give a letter to the property owner saying that your grass is exceeding the permitted height. You have such a time period to mow it, and if you do not, then the city will take action. So I guess some areas to address are the height that you want to deal with. West Fargo uses 8 inches. I don't know if you want to go with 10 inches. It's
8 inches, not great.
By the time we get through the process, even if it's quick, it's going to be 10 to 12 inches. So why don't we start at 8 inches?
that's probably right.
Good point.
That's set at that. And then
But I mean,
it's
that's
a
the-
consistency. It's a consistency.
Yeah,
thing.
and I say 8 inches is fairly common from what I've read in other ordinances around the state. That seems to be a common number, so I don't see anything odd about that.
That's pretty
I mean
high.
that's pretty tall.
Because I mean, grass is starting to already,
You're talking.
seed out at like 4 or 5 inches. So
But this is
Can't
probably,
really
this is
shoot
more
it
for,
that high.
yeah. I'm guessing that 8 inches is more for the weeds.
Yeah.
Bigger, taller weeds that we're dealing with here. And again, I think a lot of this is precipitated, at least in my mind, because of the lots that,
Correct.
that have been left and not done anything with. So
And
we should know better.
also with this ordinance, so you'll see it. There's noxious weeds, and that there's no height requirement for that. Because if there are noxious weeds, you want to be able to go in at any time and
Well, that's
eradicate.
state law. I mean, it's state law.
Yeah,
noxious
and then
weeds.
so then there's grasses or non-noxious weeds, and that's where you get that height requirement.
Right.
So if it gets above that, then it's time to take action. So that's basically section 1, is adding that to your ordinances. Section 2 relates to the nuisance items as well, and it just allows for other city officials, specifically appointed officials, to send those letters.
Those letters, yeah.
Right now, the way your ordinance reads, I'm not allowed to send a letter. It's got to go from Vance to the property owner. And so now this allows the city administrator, the attorney, the mayor, and then your soon-to-be community development director to send letters if need be.
Yeah, I mean, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, this, we've talked about this before, it's just we finally got it in words now, so.
So we're considering this a first reading of this
Yep.
ordinance.
And then if after reading it, you see that there's something you can change, we can always change it before the second reading.
You need a motion to approve.
Tonight,
the first reading.
First
First
reading.
reading tonight.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance change.
Second.
Okay, Brian makes a motion to do the first reading, John does a second. Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Alright, motion carries. So yeah, let's get that gone through its paces here. Thank you, Lucas, for putting that together. It's probably long overdue.
So we're basically stating, just to confirm, that upon getting this letter or nuisance, the property owner, we specify the time, but no less than 48 hours. So if we decide we give them 72 hours or whatever it is to remedy this upon approval of the letter or receipt of the letter, excuse me.
For you to say.
Yeah. If they do not take care of it, we basically can just go in and take care of it. As a
And then
city.
charge them.
Charge
And then charge them.
for them. Yep.
Allows us to move much quicker.
Yep.
Yes.
I guess I should ask this question, that charging rate, do we state that rate that,
What if we call contractor? What if we call somebody to do it? It's just the going rate to mow up.
Yeah, it just says assess the cost. I don't know what it's going to
okay,
cost.
so
'cause
it's actual cost, it's actual cost.
Yeah.
Okay.
From my experiences, where I was before, we would have a contractor come in and do that, and we would just pass the cost directly on to that house or that property owner.
So it isn't-
That way we had an actual invoice that we could show from the contractor. Plus, it didn't affect our workloads on staff's public works department or parks department. So,
Yes, sir.
What kind of property does it apply to?
Should apply to all property in the city.
Just all,
So, where Russ is going around going is, let's say we're out on 64th Avenue there, and there's a field that is not agriculture right now. It's not being planted. It has a big huge pile of dirt on it and then a whole bunch of weeds around it. Would this ordinance apply to that development, that area?
As it reads, yeah.
Okay, great.
That dirt is in violation in the first place.
Well, then that's something else we gotta go take care of, right?
Well, and it's probably in violation of state law too, because I'm assuming there's weeds on it, and probably some noxious weeds.
Yeah. Anytime you got a Canadian thistle, bang, that's noxious.
Well, what I'm actually referring to is part of my property. I haven't mowed yet because of the ducklings I have in it.
I'll be sure to send you a letter.
Yeah, there you go. Send them to
2 weeks.
Thanks for volunteering.
I do want to make a serious comment. I know we're laughing about it, but under the Migratory Bird Act, if you've got like a grower in your yard too, you know, something
Right, all the
simple with
migratory.
that.
Yep.
And the reason I bring that
Well, I
up
have
is
those.
the slough that exists in our backyard. I've shaken out a couple of ducks, and I've got 2 sets of ducks nesting in my property right now, which are making mowing a nuisance. So I'd be in violation of that. Now, there is a workaround, you know, saying, hey, I've got this, but how close do you get? And I know that the federal game and fish people, because I've tangled with them before, on federal land, they're requiring us to stay 100-some feet away from the ducks. 100-some feet is a fair chunk of distance.
I think the basis of this is if the landowner responds back with something of that type, I mean, we'll react to it, common
Yeah,
sense,
right.
but we just have so many that are potentially doing nothing, right? And
And it has to be over 30% of the property.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Because the other one is because I know this fight that has built in other communities where people are planting what I'm gonna call the natural prairie grasses, which are actually very good for the soils and stuff. You know, those are normally 3 to 5, 6 feet tall in some places. Just bringing that up.
Yep.
How you wanna handle that.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it'll be on
if we issue the letter and they come back with, hey, we're doing it because of the XYZ reason, then, you know, the city can decide how they want to handle it. But
And we can go verify
That's our
that
policy.
Canadian thistles is not included in the prairie.
In all those situations, the resident does, or the property owner does have an opportunity to appeal, and they could justify
Right.
what is going on and request consideration from the council for that to be waived, so.
Okay. All right, we'll move along. Number
We never
16.
voted.
Yeah, we did.
Did we?
What?
Yeah, we voted.
We had discussion.
Yes.
Oh, we did?
John, wake up, buddy.
There was so much discussion afterwards that, you know, it got lost in there.
Sorry. All right, number 16. Lucas and Jim, you want to talk about that?
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll let Jim take the lead on this one.
Okay.
All right, I did prepare a memo and it's presented to the city. I think you believe you have that.
When is this? Oh, this one? This protest?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the one. And scroll down to the meat and potatoes of this. Basically, it says during the council meeting on June 18th, the city of Horace received 7 pages of signatures from property owners within the special assessment district. Property owners are protesting the improvements. Went through and added everything up. The district contains 277 properties, equaling 303 acres. The 60 properties that are proposing or opposing the project equal roughly 14 acres, which equates to 4.6% of the total district area by area in protest. So, Lucas can take it from there.
So under the North Dakota Century Code and case law, it says that if the residents in the improvement district have a majority of the area protested out, then that bars the city from proceeding with the improvement district. However, if the protests are found to be insufficient or invalid, the governing body may cause the improvement to be made and may contract or otherwise proceed with the improvement district. So here, you're at under 5%. So you're not even close to the majority of the area involved in the improvement district to protest out of the project. So now it kicks this to the city council. You can proceed with the project because there was insufficient amount of protests involved in this project.
So Jim,
But it's the May, so
Yeah.
it's a city council decision.
you guys had some discussions about the special assessments on this thing, or did you not? Did you guys-
There, Brenton and I have had some discussions about moving forward with
Okay.
different scenarios for assessing the project, not assessing the project,
Right.
assessing a percentage of the project. Nothing more than just discussions at this point. No, the decision would be made by the Special Assessment Commission. Obviously, you guys have a say
But-
in directing that.
So go ahead and explain a little bit why where was the majority of the special assessments gonna be for this one? It was on Sparks Edition down south here, right?
The majority of the assessment of one of the proposed assessments was, the bulk of the assessment was borne by the properties south of Park. So it'd be the commercial properties and that land right where.
This area right here.
Yeah, okay, I see it.
Even up closer than that, the bulk of it was, there was the lagoons had some in there because it's
So right
there's
in
drainage
here?
there. Yep, and then there's south, so.
So this whole area would bear like 80%, 60, 70%?
The scenario that I ran was 70-30.
So
Because that
30%
seems to be
would
a
be
common,
borne by
70%
these.
would be by the commercial areas, and 30% would be covered by the city. Is
Say
that
that
the way
again?
we were doing that, Brendan?
Say that again?
It'd be, well, one scenario was with having commercial participation
Yep.
with the city doing a cost share. That was one scenario. So commercial, industrial, and really
In the city.
in city, not really impacting the houses kind of north of City Hall, north and west of City Hall here. Then the other scenario was to show, I believe, everything.
Was assessing everything with the
Within
boundary of a
that
certain
district.
percentage. So 3rd Street,
Yeah.
4th Street. So we can go through, like, County Road 17 was a 0%, zero assessment. 3rd to 4th was a 25% assessment, no, 50% assessment. South of Park was a 75% assessment to 100% assessment. And then 5th and 6th was like a 25% assessment, with the city lots participating at 100%. So the lagoons that were in the boundary would be that 100%.
When you're saying 100%, what do you mean by 100%?
100% benefit.
Oh, okay.
100% benefit. So,
So even before any of that happens, if you're talking about kind of a cost share thing, if the city's going to kick in, it's obviously going to lower the amount that the city will then have to assess against the properties in this entire improvement district. So now what they're talking about is then taking whatever that amount is and then finding out the different percentages that apply to this improvement district by the amount of benefit that they receive.
Do we have a final cost yet on?
we haven't bid the project yet, but the estimates were for the base were right around that 590. So it was within 100,000 of what we had estimated in the first place. So
So we're talking just $590,000
for the base estimate, which
For
is
the base
which is an asphalt section based on truck route, rural section, no curb and gutter, but built for trucks, asphalt.
And there are a couple different options after that, like going concrete road, making it, replacing existing road. So there are a few different other options that can be done, but the cost went up from there.
So how many scenarios did you guys run besides that?
We did 4. One was the base, which would be an asphalt street from the corner of Nelson out to 4th. So we did another one that included replacing from County Road 17 all the way to 4th, and then the same options just in concrete. So
This is 4th right here, right, Jim?
yep, we would go out to that east to the end of that property and have it.
So what we're talking about is this road right here. that
Yep.
goes right here, and then does it turn up?
No, it does. It just stops.
So
It
it's just
ties
this
in at
section.
4th. So the first block there, to where the letters are, that is an alternate to do.
So that's what I'm thinking too, of being, the city's gonna be involved, their property's gonna be involved in this too, the city's gonna have some skin in this game too.
The city does.
I'd like to see us have a little more discussion with some business owners out there.
Yeah.
I'd like to see exactly where these protests on a map is, because there's a certain area in my head that shouldn't be hit with this at all. There is some benefit. Yeah, we gotta get some more, we gotta get a little more information and have some more.
Right, but that's why we did the
Yep.
improvement district just initially, to come up with a wider swath, and then we can always narrow that down as we go here, figure this out. But like I said, the city's got skin in the game here because we got property that's gonna be involved in this too.
And I don't want misinformation to get out to anybody, you know, what costs are actually gonna be until we
don't
can
know,
do some
but-
due diligence, cause that's what we wanna do. There's absolutely no way that we can hammer on everybody with this again.
Oh, agreed.
So,
So, yes, hold on.
So why is this road gonna be a heavy trucking route when there's already a truck route road? Like, why can't
This
it be
isn't a
just-
truck road. I mean, this isn't really set up for heavy truck traffic. It's a Band-Aid.
It's not supposed to be.
It wasn't.
Well, it's
But the
labeled.
cost, but
I
the
know
cost
it's-
of it is gonna be more expensive due to the fact it's a truck road. It's gonna be for heavier equipment and trucks. So a normal street isn't gonna cost that amount.
If we keep running trucks on this road over here, we're gonna have to repair this road.
But that's why that truck route is there, is because of the businesses back here that want that truck road because they have a business back there. They chose to put their businesses there.
Well, actually, it's the opposite. The city of years ago decided to put those businesses there and decided not to put that truck route there. And we're trying to rectify that. And our goal is not to tax you guys in the developments of what, that's why we want to research this more to see if we can figure out how the city can cover some of it, the businesses can cover it, that type of thing. So, but understand there is an interconnect, that all these streets will now interconnect, and there's that potential of benefit, but that is not our objective here. We want to cover it and see how we can get this done, so we can get all those trucks off of that road and remove that signs that say truck route on that road.
So I don't get, okay, so yes, on the map it says however many properties, 200 and some properties were assessed or are in the assessment area, but really it's only 4th, 3rd, and like 2 houses on this street to get signatures for the protest. Like,
How do you
there's this
figure
all
out?
this field
Yeah.
that is in the assessment.
It's a
area.
ratio of the, the volume of the landowners. That's
What about the landowners of the land that's going to be, will eventually be built on out there? They should
further
be
south.
assessed
You mean
also.
further south?
Yeah, they should be assessed also.
They're in the improvement district.
And they are filling as an
But
assessment.
they would have to have signed the petition.
Right, they would have every right
protest.
to protest it as much as anyone out there before.
So we didn't get any letters from them?
No.
No.
Well, I mean,
Well, right, because there's nothing there. Who am I supposed to contact?
Well, they'll still get an
They're
assessment.
gonna be assessed.
The landowners.
All
They're
these
not
landowners down
excluded.
here are gonna get assessed, whether there's something on it or not. Because there's a potential that they're gonna develop that.
Right, well.
So they will
that's
benefit
not
from that in the
good.
future. So this actually incents them, in some regards, to actually develop it, because they're gonna incur some cost. That's gonna be added to the value of the land, because now the land value goes up because of the accessibility to a truck route road.
Okay, so for the assessment map or whatever was in that whole file, that wasn't in part of it, or the assessment? In
The improvement
letter, it
district,
said
you mean, or?
Each property could be assessed $6,000 if that went through for the $600,000 project.
That was a scenario based on the number of homes with a flat rate of this much money divided by this many homes.
Right, so was that part of it? That
land, that property.
That property,
You get where I'm coming
I know
from?
what you're saying.
Because if it's just those houses right here, $6,000, like in that,
And if that whole.
yeah, that whole area is gonna only be charged $6,000, then that's,
no.
That is not,
that's
none of
not-
that's determined.
No.
The special assessment
not there
commission
yet.
will look at this entire map and then try to figure out, okay, how much benefit are each of these properties getting? It's not an equal, just
Well,
because you own property, it's just
right,
set at
because
this.
like these homes are.
I don't know where the number came from in that letter or why it was
Right,
the
well,
same.
yeah, it was there.
It's up to the Special Assessment Commission to decide that amount, and they'll look at the actual benefit of what these properties are getting from that project. And so just because it said that, that's not.
Well, right, well,
What's gonna happen?
I'm just getting at, like, these houses over here already have 2 outs, like, out to the highway.
Mhm.
So, really, that's not beneficial.
Just because it was a preliminary thing we came up with.
Unless you're in this neighborhood right here.
So this was there's 206 properties? Yeah, probably.
Parcels. I think some of our, in terms of our next steps, is it really to come up with a funding model from just cost share, right?
And see, that's my point, is that's going to affect the amount of assessments, because if the city is just gonna say, okay, we're gonna take this much money out of the highway fund, we're gonna take this much money out of the sales tax fund, that's going to then decrease the amount that you're gonna have to assess to the properties. And then once you get that amount, that's when the percentages or the benefit is determined by the Special Assessment Commission. So that's later on. That's not
So I
that's
think
not something that the city council picks right now and says, well, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna have this amount, and each property that's in this is gonna pay this amount. That's not how improvement districts work.
But that's why you guys have the 4 different scenarios, and we probably have a few other ones here too.
Just to get a, okay, what if, for
Yeah,
instance.
what if,
Yeah.
because we don't know.
The point for tonight, though, is that the project did not protest out.
Correct.
So that's the key point in this, is that we are not held up by protest. We can proceed to work on, we do have the input from the residents.
Yeah.
So we can use this as an opportunity to say, okay, let's come up with a different funding model for how we can, cost share this between the city and the other landowners, and bring that back as a proposal before we vote on it.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's our next step, correct?
To come up with some,
Yes.
beyond that initial,
Really the funding model that we had talked about.
yeah.
Yep. So I think that's good feedback that we got from the residents. They don't want to be assessed. So let's work, see what we can do.
Well, yeah.
And that's, but that's the point, is that now the process can proceed. We aren't held up, but on the other hand, we've heard you. Thank you for bringing your feedback, and we'll figure out if there's another way we can fund it.
And if not, okay. But I mean, we got to explore some other avenues.
Right, we
The
gotta-
first one was just
There's
throwing
more
something on
option
the
we can
wall.
do. Yep.
So when will this be passed out again?
Don't know.
Gonna have to visit with the commercial properties and see if there's, or we'll have to visit internally to see if there's a model or a scheme
Probably within the next month.
I was gonna say about next month.
Yeah.
Do we think we can try and have some more discussions in the next month?
Yes.
Okay.
To try and shoot for the first part of August here.
The agenda is put on the Facebook and website too. Before. Okay, so, yep.
So for some clarification too, the 6,000 that you saw didn't include those lots. It went strictly by the existing homes and it went by the businesses in that area. And it was just a scenario. It wasn't set in stone. It's just, this is what it could be based on those numbers that were there.
Well,
So
that's why
obviously,
everyone is so, that is out there. And that's why everyone is so,
yeah, and I see that. And that's why we go through the process of protest and everything to make sure that it's all, everyone is aware now.
right.
Has the knowledge, I guess, is what I'm saying. So by adding all that area and special assessing it over the area brings the cost down
Right.
substantially. I mean, quite substantially.
Yeah.
So, right?
Are you opposed of any assessment, just by curiosity? Not to pigeonhole you,
No,
I'm just
well, I don't-
curious.
I mean, no, I don't think it's benefiting us at all.
Sure.
Because we live that way.
Mhm.
But, I mean, if we have to, if we have to pay a little bit,
Mhm.
$6,000, and just moved into the area.
Right,
also, so,
right.
$6,000 is a little ridiculous.
Right,
for-
I was just more curious if it was just the idea of it, or if you were willing to have some skin in it.
I mean, you buy a house, you know what you're up for, so.
Death and taxes.
Right.
And when the Special Assessment Commission meets, you can come and say that you don't think that you have any benefit to your property, and then they will look at that and say, okay, why? And then you explain it, and then they take that into consideration when they make their recommendation to the city council.
Right, well, like I said, if I
So you have
lived-
another opportunity
if I lived over
to-
here, right behind here, I mean, maybe because the street would be right there, but.
Want to comment?
You had a question in the back there?
Yeah, 34th Street got rid of the ditches a few years ago, and none of us disagreed with the special assessments on it.
is there's something in our streets. Put a commercial road at the south end. Nobody at 4th Street's gonna drive through all the commercial district over there just to get to a road where we're gonna get to 17.
But it takes traffic off of your roads.
Well, the slow trucks on the road now, they're starting to get excited for driving around. I think that's what she's getting at. If your benefits are 2 streets, that's fine. But when it's a commercial road, for expansion of commercial to the south in the future, the homeowner should be bearing much of all of this cost.
I just want to reiterate, that is not the goal of council. We want to try and find a funding plan where we can take care of this. That's the goal. Because just what you said, this was something that happened years ago, and we want to make sure that your roads aren't destroyed any more than they are, so that they can continue. And we need to build a
This would have gone right through.
No, it wouldn't have.
No, we still have to go through this process.
We wanted feedback. That's why we put these out there, that we want your feedback. There's no reason for us to push this through and get everybody angry at us. We know the understanding that we all, when we talked about this project, said we need to make sure that we find a way to reduce or not have to special the homeowners, because it is a commercial-based road, but it is interconnecting all the roads. So I can't stop somebody from going down this road, even though it states it's going to be used for commercial. So that's not a reason to attack somebody for it. So that is our goal. That is our end goal that we want to do. I can't 100% guarantee, because something may come up, but that is our end goal as a council we're trying to work on.
Yep. So.
All right, well, thanks for making that clear.
Okay, it's still a process we gotta go through.
Right.
But like Dave said, that is our ultimate
Yep. I mean, it
aim.
is. Okay. Anything else on that?
So if you'd like to proceed with it, then you could pass a resolution determining its insufficiency of protest.
Okay.
So moved.
So that's one way to move.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Brian makes a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Dave, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That was everybody? Okay.
Can we look at these options though, in terms of, the minimum is just an asphalt road? Let's look at something that we do for a long time versus even if it's gonna cost us a little bit more as a city that's
Let's
well
look
worth
at
it.
all the scenarios.
Well, I mean, we gotta look at all scenarios.
Yeah, we
We
gotta-
talked
we
about
gotta go back
cement
and
and,
review.
yeah, we talked about cement and some other longer lasting stuff, so I mean, we'll go through that process and, so.
Okay,
It's
thank
also
you.
going to interconnect to a road going south.
To 100.
Pardon me, Russ?
It's also going to interconnect to a road, a street
Going south.
100.
Yep.
Long term.
For the long term.
Yes.
Yep, definitely. Okay. Moving on. Okay, Jim, you got the other one
I
here.
do, yes. We have an estimate, progressive estimate for Improvement District 2017-1. Typically, these are done by consent agenda. I couldn't read the consent agenda, so I am not sure that they were on that. It went by fast, so
Do you want me to pull it back up?
if you could double check, I don't want these to slip just because we didn't get it on there. You see, there should be 2 from KPH. Apparently, I need bigger, stronger glasses or something. If I want to admit that or not.
Is that better?
Yeah, I don't see any on there.
No.
All right, well then we'll do it this way. So the first one we have is Lost River. We have a progressive estimate number 11. This estimate is for $205,174.37. That project is 96.9% complete. They're working on some miscellaneous and incidental items now. The last of the fence should be installed this week. There are some other landscaping items that are working, and then this project should be complete. This estimate pays for some seeding and erosion control, access road to the lift station, some landscaping amenities, testing with lab services, and the paving in Box Elder Circle. So we've reviewed this estimate and recommend approval. So we
So
probably
this is $205,000 more?
this isn't no more. This is just what they've accrued to date. This isn't an addition of anything. This is just a progressive payment,
Okay.
interim payment.
Everything's still in
Right now,
the
the
budget of that?
they are. The total cost of the project was $4,158,808, and to date they've accrued $4,030,000 or $4,030,437. So we are
$120,000 under.
under. So
So yeah, motion to approve, need to get it addressed estimate.
Second.
Okay. All right, Brian does a motion and Dave does a second to approve. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The second one is for Improvement District 2017-2. That is the SSL to Fargo. This is the estimate number 5 in the amount of $145,915.72 for work completed by KPH. This pays for some ductile iron fittings, 6-inch force main, lift station work on the 3 lift stations, aggregate removal, testing lab services, seeding and hydro mulch. This project is 96.2% complete. Cass County Electric trenched in the electric service for the lift station north of the church last Thursday. The panel's in place. They need to set the transformer and everything should be ready to do the final testing, do the startups, and then we can be ready to start sending sewage to Fargo. So
Is Fargo ready to accept?
Yes, Fargo.
Fargo is close. I talked to their inspector last Monday, and they had some little things to tend to, and then we could start heading that way. So we'll have a startup and all that when the time comes. So we need to get lift station 8 plumbed or wired in. Cass County Electric has set the transformer. So
Okay.
So, Jimmy, with this payment, where does that put us for payments and?
we are, the contract cost was $1,407,217.49. We are at $1,354,122.80. So we're under running that one too.
Okay.
Just about 50,000 under.
But we still have a little more to pay though.
We do, yep. Once the lift stations have the startup on that, we can pay for 100% of that. And then there's some other items here that we're needing some more acceptance on before we pay for it. So
Bottom line, we're still under budget with that?
I would say yes.
Good.
Most excellent.
Okay, anybody else got anything else on that? Otherwise, I accept the motion to approve here.
So moved.
Okay, John does a motion, get a second.
Second.
Okay, Brian does a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
All right, the last 3 are just some updates, nothing, no supporting documents. The first one is Street Improvement District 2017-7 Maple Grove. Met with the contractor last week. We've got the contracts back. He would like to schedule a pre-construction conference for next Wednesday and starting very, very soon afterwards. I'll give you an update once we have the pre-construction conference of a schedule, but that's the way it's looking now. Pedestrian crossing, exact same thing, same contractor. We'll try to knock both of those out at the same time. And Northwood, Southwood, the paving is complete on Northwood, Southwood. We am just awaiting the chip seal, and I haven't gotten a update from the contractor when they're going to do that. So
Awaiting the what?
the chip seal coat on top. The paving, the milling has been done, the paving's done, the gate valves have been replaced. It's just a matter now of putting the chip seal on, and then we can final that project out too. So paving went
So
well.
that's expected to be completed.
I haven't got, it's a subcontractor who typically comes in the summertime and knocks all these out. It's not it's a couple hours worth of work to do the seal coat on it, so I haven't heard back from border states when they're going to do that, so.
Sorry, Jim, but
Yes.
back up to the other 2,
Yeah.
Maple Grove and the pedestrian crossing. What's your anticipated start and completion time?
The start I would say would be within the next, we have the pre-con next week, and they said they wanted to get going right away, so I would say if it doesn't start the end of next week, it'll probably start the beginning of the following week. And as far as the completion date, I'll know more when I get idea of their schedule from them at the pre-con, but the crossing needs to be done by the middle of August before school starts. So that one, it's not a real involved project, I think they can get that done, but the other one, there's some subcontractor work and other stuff that I need to get from them before I give you, I think we had I don't want to tell you the wrong date.
Do we
About 4 to 6
normally,
weeks
yeah,
for that
do we
one.
normally give them a schedule? You kind of said,
We give them a completion date, and then they have to provide the schedule to get to that completion date.
okay.
Can I quickly back up and ask for an update on the water meter? Is there any update on that?
The information, we need
Brenton's got a letter from the mayor that we need to get signed that asks the health department for approval to award the project. That packet of information that goes to them is waiting that letter. We got the okay on the loan. As soon as I get that letter, I'm gonna send it off to Bismarck. They review the bid documents.
waiting for approval.
We are waiting for approval from the health
The
department.
letter has been signed, and I need to double check. I think Vance might have sent it in the mail, or I just need to double check.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, I have it for you.
Okay,
So yes, the letter has been signed. And moving forward.
so that packet will go in tomorrow. And then we await.
How long does that typically take? They turn that around fairly quickly?
I think they typically, within a week, I would say.
Okay.